At the age of 93, Angie Dickinson, the beauty icon who once captivated all of America, has finally spoken out about the 5 men she claims she will never forgive. They are not just famous names, but men who once stood beside her on the red carpet, on screen, and even in her personal life. After more than 70 years of silence, Angie has chosen to reveal each of them with coldness and without mercy. And what could make a 93-year-old woman still carry such fury to this day? Is it betrayal, fear, or a shattered soul? Born on September 30th, 1931, in the small town of Combs, North Dakota, a place seemingly unlikely to produce a movie star, Angie Dickinson rose to become one of Hollywood's most alluring icons of the 1950s through the 1970s. And now, at 93, she is ready to uncover the past and expose the truth about the men who once destroyed her life. She began as a young woman who loved poetry and had no formal acting training, stepping into Hollywood as an outsider. Yet within just a decade, Angie Dickinson had surpassed hundreds of other beauties, appeared in more than 50 television films, and became the first seductive female action hero on American screens, something almost unthinkable at the time. Her fierce independence and smoldering gaze quickly lifted her from supporting roles to leading lady status, shining in classics like Rio Bravo, Dressed to Kill, and most notably the series Policewoman, where she broke barriers as America's first female TV cop, a daring icon of her era. But fame came at a cost. Simply for refusing to give in to producers' demands, Angie was dropped from 4 major roles. The press crowned her a sex goddess, yet behind the scenes, the industry whispered far crueler names. Even her high-profile romance with Frank Sinatra, painted as glamorous in the tabloids, was in reality clouded by jealousy and control. Sinatra was said to have once threatened to shut down an entire film crew simply because Angie dared to kiss another man on screen. "I loved him," Angie Dickinson once admitted, "but I was never truly myself around him." Yet tragedy struck far beyond romance. The deepest wound of her life came when her only daughter, Nikki, who struggled with severe autism, took her own life at the age of 40. Angie didn't appear before cameras to cry, nor did she pour her heart out to the press. She simply wrote in a letter, "I survived. But a part of me died with her." And now, at 93, Angie Dickinson has no reason left to protect anyone's reputation. She no longer fears losing roles, Hollywood's backlash, or the weight of silence. This time, Angie has chosen to speak, to name the 5 men she once loved, trusted, even idolized, and now despises with every fiber of her being. Who are they? What did they do to her? And who tops Angie Dickinson's infamous blacklist? What kind of pain has she carried for nearly 7 decades? The first name, Frank Sinatra, the manipulator behind the mask of a lover. In the morning, he could make Angie feel like a queen. By nightfall, she was nothing more than a discarded toy. Hollywood hailed them as the golden couple, but Angie herself called it the most dangerous relationship of my life. Sinatra, the king of swing, a man whose single glance could make millions of women tremble. Yet behind the spotlight, he was a monster in silk gloves. At first, he made Angie believe she was special, morning bouquets, intimate poolside dinners, whispers that she was unlike anyone else. But the sweetness vanished the moment she accepted a role that required kissing another man. Sinatra hurled the script at her and coldly declared, "You're mine. No one touches you, not even on screen." That was the unspoken rule Frank Sinatra imposed on Angie Dickinson. He forbade her from seeing male friends, had her followed on set, and once, after she attended a casting he didn't approve of, she came home to find all her belongings destroyed and every photo of them burned. Sinatra never hid her from the world, but he broke her spirit, making her fear her own voice. He didn't need to hold her hand. He held her filming schedule, her co-stars, her contracts, even her sleep. In her journal, Angie once wrote, "He didn't want me to love him. He wanted me to forget anyone else existed." The breaking point came in 1970 when Angie was nominated for the lead role in a critically acclaimed independent film. At 2 a.m., Frank called the director and threatened, "If you keep her in that movie, you'll never work in Hollywood again." The role vanished without explanation. That was when Angie realized that loving Frank Sinatra was like living in a golden cage, and inside, she no longer existed. To this day, she cannot forgive him. "I once loved the man every woman dreamed of, but I paid with my soul." And after Frank, she fell into the hands of the second man, the one who stood with her at the altar, who promised forever and betrayed her in the cruelest way. He was her husband and a mother's worst nightmare. The second man, Burt Bacharach, my husband, the man who turned me into a stranger to my own daughter. People ask me why I hate him. I don't just hate, I loathe. Because Burt Bacharach didn't just walk away from me, he abandoned our poor daughter as well. To the world, he was a musical genius, a Grammy-winning icon of American music in the 1960s and 70s. But to Angie Dickinson, he was nothing more than a coward in a designer suit. They married in 1965, a picture-perfect match under the spotlight. She, a Hollywood star at the peak of her career, he, a celebrated composer. The media called them the perfect couple. Yet behind the doors of their million-dollar Beverly Hills mansion were lonely nights where Angie cried alone, while Burt disappeared under the excuse of seeking inspiration. Not long after, their daughter Nikki was born. But Nikki was not like other children. She was diagnosed with autism, a condition still little understood at the time. Angie fell into crisis, but Burt chose silence. I held our baby in my arms, shaking, and all he asked was, "Will she affect my schedule?" From that moment on, Angie raised Nikki alone, carrying the entire weight by herself. Burt, instead of being a father, drowned himself in beautiful women, luxury yachts, and wild Vegas nights. Once, Angie called him, pleading for his signature on a special treatment request for Nikki. His reply was cold, "I'm recording. Don't call again unless she's dead." And then came the cruelest truth. While Angie was pregnant, Burt had been cheating with a young singer. Not just once. He even brought her into their home while Angie slept in the next room, holding their baby in her arms. He once claimed he loved her more than life itself, but one night Angie awoke to the sound of laughter drifting from downstairs. It wasn't music, it wasn't art, it was betrayal. In 1981, they divorced, and while the press described it as an amicable split, Angie never forgave. For her, Burt hadn't just destroyed a wife's life, he had shattered the fragile world of an innocent child who desperately needed her father. After Burt came another man, not a husband, not a lover, not even a fleeting romance, but the most powerful figure in the entertainment industry at the time. With a single phone call, he ended Angie's ambition and stripped away her freedom. He didn't need to touch her, just one sentence was enough for all of Hollywood to turn its back. That man was Jack Webb. There were no photos of them together, no rumors, no public scandal, yet Angie believed he was the one who destroyed her career in less than 12 hours. Webb was a television mogul, the producer behind some of the biggest shows of the 1970s, and a man every actress was forced to smile at, even when it left them in tears. Angie recalled, "I once refused to sleep with him, thinking I was famous enough to be respected. By the next morning, 3 roles were gone, contracts canceled without explanation, and friends in the industry whispered, 'You said no to him. You're finished.'" No one dared to speak his name, and no one dared to look him in the eye. He had the power to turn a leading lady into an outcast with a single sentence. Angie didn't cry. She quietly packed up her dressing room and walked away. That was the day she learned a bitter truth. I could win over audiences, but I would never beat the system. But there was still another man, the one whose words would leave an even deeper scar. The love she endured was wrapped in control, jealousy, and a suffocating fear. A love that haunted Angie for 40 years. And now she is ready to reveal his name, the fourth man, Larry King, the one who loved her in the cruelest way. He never struck her, never cursed, never shouted. Instead, he stared every time she smiled at someone else, slowly dismantling her life with deliberate precision. Larry wasn't as famous as Frank, nor as powerful as the Hollywood producers, but he knew how to make Angie believe no one had ever loved her more. Every touch, every stroke of her hair, every vow was carefully scripted to control, and his warning echoed in her mind, "You're mine forever. If you leave me, I won't survive. But I won't let you live in peace either." Over time, Angie lost her friends, her career, and even her laughter. Coming home 10 minutes late provoked his rage, and a simple compliment to another man on television ended with him smashing the screen. He even planted a microphone in her car just to catch whether she sighed over someone else. When Angie finally tried to leave, he drank, slammed his head into a mirror, and bled onto her shoulder like a scene from a nightmare, whispering, "I love you so much it's driving me crazy." In that moment, Angie understood this was not love but a prison, and she later confessed, "I once thought pain was the price of great love, but now I know real love never comes with fear." Then came the last and most shocking name of all, a man who once claimed he saw Angie as family, yet what he did behind the scenes she would forever call the most disgusting betrayal of my life. He didn't destroy her with fists, but with a single sentence spoken in front of 20 people, a sentence that ensured Angie Dickinson would never lift her head again. The fifth man was Johnny Carson, the fake smile, the staged embrace, the public betrayal. In front of hundreds, he stepped onto the stage, wrapped his arms around Angie, and whispered a sentence she would never forget, "I just saved you from humiliation. Don't make me regret it." Carson wasn't a lover, a husband, or even a jealous suitor. He had once called Angie family, a friend she thought she could trust. That night, he stood as the legendary host of a major entertainment show where Angie was to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. The press praised it as a triumphant comeback for the queen of the screen, but for Angie, it became the most humiliating night of her life. Just minutes before she walked on stage, Carson received an old deleted clip, one where Angie had accidentally mentioned a producer accused of abuse. The clip could have reignited scandal, branding her as someone exploiting the past for attention. Instead of warning or protecting her, Carson chose to smile, offer a hug, and play the savior. Then, live on air, before millions of viewers, he twisted the knife. Our Angie is a timeless icon. A woman who knows when to speak and when to stay silent. The audience erupted in applause, but Angie remained quiet because she knew it was not praise. It was a warning. From that night forward, her name began to fade from nomination lists. No one questioned it, no one believed her, no one even asked. Only Angie and Carson knew the truth that passed between them in that moment. I never needed his love. But his betrayal, more than any other, left the deepest scar. I needed his loyalty, but he chose the audience, not me. 5 men. 5 names that once filled magazine covers, fueled rumors, and walked beside me under the flash of cameras. They no longer hold the power they once did. But I'm still here. And I remember. I've forgiven myself. But not them. Thank you for watching. Share this video if you believe every woman, whether